أكبر الله 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 أكبر لا إله إلا
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I'm Saj Bhatt. Welcome to the SAJ Mahal. Tonight's show is called Where is our Ronaldo? Where is the Pakistani Ronaldo? To help us find him, I have a very special guest who I will introduce you to shortly. As usual, the lines will be open and we would love it if you could provide your input. But before I do any of that, I need to correct something that I should have done last week, which is actually tell you about this whole concept of SAJ Mahal and what this series of programs is all about. Essentially, reflecting back on my life, I've looked at the various interests that I personally have, and it's a shame, particularly now, that the contribution the Pakistani Muslim diaspora is making in all kinds of fields or in all kinds of community isn't highlighted. The positive role models are not before us as much as they could be. So this is my attempt to try and rectify that. So I will be in subsequent weeks looking at various subjects or themes that I'm particularly interested in or have experience in. First and foremost, obviously, sport. And we will, in due course, be looking at cricket and boxing and so forth. But as you're all aware, we started off with football last week, and you will have already seen my passion for football, and I don't need to project that any further. So that's theme number one. Theme number two, my background actually is in education. So it's education, training and skills. I've been a lecturer at Nelson Cone College. I was a staff development manager at Lancaster Morecambe College. I've been a governor at a few education establishments. So we will be looking at that. Theme number three reflects my interest in business and entrepreneurship. Having helped my brothers set up a business, a computer IT business, 3B Systems Limited in Nelson, one of the oldest established IT companies in the country, in fact. My involvement with the East Lancashire Chamber of Commerce as a board member and as a past chairman and president. Theme number four is my interests and this huge area of IT, telecommunications, cybersecurity. You will be astonished to know that the field of esports is growing at such a vast rate. Your kids, you may think, are playing online gaming and so forth, but they can win competitions worth £250,000 to £500,000. So finally, and perhaps in some ways most importantly, is my interest and passion for community cohesion. It is so important for us to be interested in this and to try and get involved in interacting with the host community. Again, we will develop all these themes in future weeks. For now, let's get back to finding our friend, the Pakistani Ronaldo. So in my studio this evening, I have a very special guest, Parvez Ali, who is born and bred in Accrington. He has played football for the world famous Accrington Stanley, one of the oldest football clubs in the world and one of the founding members of the Football League. He's been a mentor, he's been a board member at Accrington Stanley, he's run the academy. One of the fantastic things that he's done amongst a host of others is that he was actually a scout for Manchester United for almost 15 years. So we'll be trying to find out what that entails. Displaying his entrepreneurship skills, he actually set up and is the co-founder director of the Professional Football Scouts Association. Now I could go on and on. Currently he's a business consultant at Boost Business Lancashire. But without further ado, let me give a very warm welcome to Parvez. Parvez, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. So you're going to help me find Ronaldo, but the Pakistani Ronaldo. But before we do that, I'd like you to cast your mind back, I think perhaps about 15 years ago. Your son Harris, my son Danny, perhaps they were 12, 13 years old. It's a wet, miserable, rainy day, cold, muddy pitches, and they're playing against each other. Go back to that time and reflect, what were your aspirations, your ambitions for your son, and tell us what evolved thereafter.
Yeah, thank you, SAJ, for having me on the show. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Yeah, I remember the time. At that time, I was running a football team at Huncourt United. I was then the chairman of the club. The team, Huncourt, we had a really good team. We played Saturdays and Sundays, trained during the week. And mashallah, the guy, all right, he was the only Asian lad in the team, but he did well. We played teams. There was no problem with any team we played. We got received very well. But he did okay, you know, playing against your lad as well. At that time, there wasn't, I thought, many Asian lads coming through. There wasn't many playing at that level. So, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed from the rain, whatever weather, in the summers or the winter, we enjoyed, you know, the team games at that time.
But what were you hoping? Your son is playing, you've played at a very high level. What were your ambitions, or perhaps his ambitions? What was the end game, if you like?
He'd been in the Man United Academy when he was at the age of 5. He left. Really?
From the age of 5?
Age of 5, yeah.
Wow.
He went to the age of 5, Development Centre in Blackburn. Stayed on till 10. He, you know, come playing for me in the grassroots team, Huncourt United. You know, obviously played for the town team, did all right there, interleague team.
I'll just hold you for a second because I need to inform our audience the live call number is now available. Please call us on 0161 529 9455. I'll repeat that for you, 0161 529 9455. It would be wonderful to hear from you. Sorry, Pervez.
Yeah, and like you said, you know, what was I looking for? He was enjoying his football, he was playing golf, cricket, and he was just enjoying himself. He'd been in the academy. Did he want to go back again? It was up to him. And he didn't go back after that age. After 13, 14, he stayed with me right up to under 18s, played for One Hill for some time. And
okay, then at what point, Pervez, did you decide to what stage did you join the scouting system? And how did that come about? And what point did you find your particular academy, the Scouts Association?
When Harris was the age of 10, I got headhunted to join Man United. Never worked as a scout anywhere before, so I didn't know what the job entailed. Great guy introduced me into Man United, was my manager then, Derek Langley.
All right. I'll just hold you there because we have a live caller already. Who's the live caller, please?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Harun from Berry.
Arun bhai, assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. You made a big progress bringing a scout who has 14 years experience yeah.
Brother Arun, could I just ask you to turn your volume down or off, please, for your TV?
Oh, on the TV. Yes. Okay. Is that better?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Welcome, Pervez Ali. I'm posing a question to yourself. Being a 50-year-old, 50-year senior, earliest player in Park United Football Club in Nelson, it's taken you 14 years of scouting, and you so far, obviously, you have done your best. Where is the impediment to bring forward the Ronaldo in Pakistani community that we're looking for? I'm a geriatric. Am I going to see it in my lifetime?
Right. Thank you, Arun bhai. So, 14 years, I must say, not 40. He's far too young for that. Go on, Pervez.
Walaikum salam, Farouk. Is it Farouk?
Harun. From Berry.
From Berry, yeah. I think we will. I think everything is set up now. I think our parents, you know, what's going on, football, Premier League, I think there is a Ronaldo out there. And inshallah, you know, one day in our lifetime we will see him. Hopefully local.
I think what we're trying to get at is all these years of scouting, have you not found any big fish out there? Did you? What might you consider as successful Any guys that you might have unearthed?
No, there's not many Asian players come through. Obviously, the obvious one at United now is a young lad called Zidane Iqbal. He's
right, okay.
playing in the under-18s at United.
What nationality is he?
Dad is Pakistani and mum is from Iraq.
Iraq, right, okay.
Yeah, playing for the under-23s.
Give us that name again. Remember this name, folks?
Zidane Iqbal.
Zidane, what a beautiful name. Right, brilliant. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Arun bhai. So, actually, you know, I was looking at a list of the top Pakistani footballers. And, you know, Pakistan does obviously have a national team. Most of these names I don't think we will have heard of. Perhaps you might have. Hassan Bashir, he's a 33-year-old. He actually plays in Denmark, but he's represented the Pakistan national team. Yusuf Butt, he's a 30-year-old Pakistan goalkeeper, again born in Copenhagen. There's Atif Bashir, born in Germany, Turkish mother Harun Bhai, and a British Pakistani father, Kalimullah Khan. And this is the one name for us, particularly from Nelson and Pendle, Adnan Khan, born in Burnley, very nice young man. We know the family and so forth. Adnan is one of the few actually who progressed to professional level. He played for, I think he was at Man United at some stage, but he played for Huddersfield Town. He went to Tranmere Rovers. He then went to Europe, Hungary, I believe, and finally ended up in Iran or Iraq. Okay. Had it not been for injuries, I think he may well have gone on to the Premier League. Okay. And he represented Pakistan on 27 different occasions, scoring 9 goals. Compliment me on my research. You're doing well. You're doing well. The only British Asian who's actually played in the Premier League is a guy called Zish Rahman, who played for Fulham. Yeah. So he was, I think, captain of the Pakistan team. So there is, as you said, bits happening here and there. Yeah. But, and this is the disappointing figure, last season, only 8 British Asian players made first team appearances across all of England's 4 divisions. True. Only 8, out of a total of 4,000 professional footballers.
Yeah, right, correct.
Yeah, right, okay.
Good research.
So, you know, so what do you think is the impediment, as Brother Arun asked, you know, what's holding us back? I mean, in the old days,
it's not holding us back. I think now, the awareness is there. You know, there's a lot of football now on TV, European football, British football. I think we will come through. The parents know what to expect. The commitment has to be there on the parent side and the player. Remember, when a young kid goes into the academy at the age of 9, he's training twice a week. It goes in on a weekend, on a Saturday, and he plays on a Sunday. So that's 4 times a week. Yeah, the commitment from the parents.
I would say that commitment is there. You know, in our time, okay, we were, the atmosphere at home was hostile. You know, we were discouraged from playing, actively discouraged. You know, we're wasting our time, and discouraged at the mosques. You know, discouraged at all levels, and the atmosphere was hostile when we was playing as well. So, I mean, our generation, and others, you know, thousands go and watch matches now. They take their kids with them. They're happy to take them to training matches and coaches and so forth. So this is what I can't quite understand. You know, why is it not happening? And they're skillful enough.
Yeah, they are, but you remember, you know, you can be your best player on your street, you can be the best player in the area, but when you go in academy, you're up against the best of the best.
Yes.
You know, and let's be real, you know, don't be cruel to be kind.
Yeah.
And there's no point in being false, saying that you're going to make it and you won't. Yeah. You know, on football, it's a real sport. It's dog eat dog, you know. You've got a player, somebody else is better than you, he'll take your place. Yeah. And, you know, you've got to be on your game every session, every game. And it's hard, you know, how many percentage of players make it anyway?
Yes.
Never mind if they're Asian or South Asian or whatever background they come from. It's a difficult sport anyway, you know, and then I always think our parents are clever to say, right, you're not going to make it as a footballer, you know, get back to college and go and do your degree at university and go and get a proper job. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. And go and play football part-time. Yeah. And try and get paid for it if you can.
Yeah, very good.
Semi-pro.
Okay. So, going back to your life and career, obviously you met so many amazing people, you've traveled throughout the world. Yeah. Tell us of some of your highlights, you know, the kind of people you've interacted with and at what level and so forth.
Yeah, we look at the academy. We obviously Sir Alex Ferguson, obviously pinnacle for my era in scouting, so brilliant guy in and around the academy. Derek Langley, hopefully, is going to ring in today. Superstars.
Tell me a bit more about your interaction with Sir Alex Ferguson. You were telling me about how much importance he paid and respect towards the scouts.
He was. He knew that the scouts would go out. He knew, you know, in all weathers, you know, at times they're on their own, doing a job on their own. And it's a thankless task because obviously once the kid comes in and starts the academy, we go back out again, and we don't really see the development of the player. So we're always out scouting. And you know, and he saw what we did. You know, obviously, every year he would, you know, give a presentation and tell, you know, the scouts how much he appreciated what they did. And I agree. You know, I've been doing it 14 years. You're always travelling. You're doing your research. You know, fact finding. When you're scouting, you're doing team analysis, your opposite match reports, team reports. So it is a difficult job. It's not. I'm not saying nobody can find a player watching a game. Anybody knows who the man at the match is.
Yes.
But it's knowing how far that player is going to go.
Very good.
You know, find a player at 4-year-old. How do you know he's going to make it? I've had players 4 and 5, and I've said, right, they will go on and make it. So you've got to have that eye.
Right, great. So we've got another couple of calls. Who's the first caller, please?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Who's calling, please?
Hello. I'm Mohammed speaking from Birmingham. You know, I know you're talking about football. You mentioned about Ronaldo and that why Pakistan is not producing football players. But I want to draw your attention to one news item. I heard in the news that Afghanistan women team,
yes,
along with the coaches, has come to Pakistan.
Right.
But you know, due to recent changes in Taliban government in Afghanistan,
yes,
they are not allowing the ladies to play cricket. But they have sent a football team to Pakistan. Why there is so much discrimination in sports that women can play football but not cricket?
Mohammed from Birmingham, thank you very much.
Thank
you very much for your call. We really appreciate your input. Obviously, this is not a political program, so I'm not qualified to debate it or comment on it. But you do touch a very important point, and we can say, obviously, we very much agree with equal opportunity. Girls, are facing difficulties, prejudices and so forth. So thank you for that. We can perhaps look into that on another program, but I've got another caller waiting. Who's the next caller, please? Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, who's calling, please?
My name's Tony Zafford. Good evening, Sajid and Pervez. Absolutely wonderful program.
Oh, thank you. Where are you ringing from, Zafar?
I'm ringing from Manchester. I don't want to give too much details on. That's because of the job I'm in at the moment.
Okay.
But it's all to do with football.
Great.
Very briefly, a couple of points. We've been obviously in football. I'm 60, by the way.
Wow. You don't sound it. You sound very healthy. Well
Thank you very much.
Good.
We started with a couple of lads, and I would like to name them, Imran Khan and Zaidar. And yes. I'm talking about 70s, late 70s when we started playing football.
I've played against both of them.
Well, you do. Well, my name's Tony Zaffa. We all used to play in the same team, started as young Muslims.
Okay, Tony. Yeah,
However, there's a couple of points I want to raise. I think the awareness of the programme, I think this is fantastic. I do some work at United, but I'm not going to say what I do. I go to the training sessions. We have one player there at the moment, Pervez Ali might probably follow or know about, and that's Zidane Iqbal.
Right, yes.
Now, I saw this chap about 3 or 4 years ago playing against Everton, probably under 16, 17. He's absolutely wonderful kid, and he's just signed a contract. He was on the under 19s game yesterday at Young Boys, which I attended.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, what I think we need to do is get grassroots football for Asians, and the only way we're going to do that is we've got to get our business communities to understand that we need funding. Our parents, the problem we still have is to put food on the table. And they don't really concentrate, A, on the education of the children, and especially the sports side, because we don't give it enough importance, like you mentioned earlier on in the program. But what I would stress is we need more awareness. We need more programs like this. And people like yourself, Pervez, I think you've done a fantastic job. You've got all the experience. I only attend training sessions for the 14s, the 12s, the 16s. I was lucky enough to go and see the game yesterday as part of my job. And just to see Zidane on the plane coming back with the under-19s, to me, my heart was just, wow, alhamdulillah, we have one here. I do hope he goes. I'm sure I've seen him play many a time. We need more. Excellent. How we need more is got to be from grassroots. When we played, very quickly, when I played, there was only 3 of us, and we couldn't get another 4th Asian guy to come and play 11-a-side. They all like 5-a-side. But we've got to get them to play 11-a-side.
Tony, you made some fantastic points. I really appreciate your call. I've got a number of calls waiting, so I'm really sorry to cut you off, but really thank you very much for your call. Right, next caller. Can we have Derek? Derek Langley, I believe, is on the line.
Correct.
Derek, welcome. Thank you very much for calling in. Derek, obviously Pervez knows you very well. I'll just introduce you to the ex-head of recruitment at Manchester United. We're getting a lot of comments about Manchester United. It's nothing to do with the fact that it's my favourite football team. But Derek, please tell us of your experiences, vast experience.
Yeah, well, I've been involved in football now for probably 50 years. 15 years previous to Manchester United with Blackburn Rovers, and then obviously moved to Manchester United in 2000, where I was then head of recruitment for all sort of academy recruitment right across Europe and the world as such, and then retired 5 years ago to try and gracefully put my feet up, but unfortunately that's not quite happened because I'm now working for Swansea City. Right. So, Derek, but yeah, I've had many years.
Because we're rushing for time and we've got so many people waiting to
yeah.
Tonight's subject is actually finding the Pakistani Ronaldo, if you like. And now, in your vast experience, can you just give us an insight into your dealings or interactions with the Pakistani community, certain players who might have come through, or any potential ones that we can look out for?
Well, I think basically this is a subject that's been debated over many, many years. Going back maybe, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years ago, something like that, the Football League, the Premier League and everybody decided to put out questionnaires regarding ethnicity and everything else. And basically, it was nothing to do with how many sort of Pakistani players there were or Asian players, you know, in the league. It was purely and simply based around the concept of what they thought from a point of view of how many was actually being representative, you know, from them backgrounds. And it's very simple in football. It's nothing to do with race. It's nothing to do with colour. It's nothing to do with creed. It's purely and simply down to nothing more than ability. Yes. There are players now, you know, that are popping up because I think, you know, the ideology that the parents have had previously, you know, on academy football wasn't aligned to the actual factor itself. And what I mean by that is the dedication that is having to be put into it, you know, to get these players through an academy system. And it is a massive, massive commitment. You know, it's a full-time job. And for parents, I really feel, you know, I don't think they realise just how much commitment is involved at times.
Yeah, I mean, you're right to point out. I mean, in terms of the Pakistani angle, because many of us, my generation, and last week's program was based on a Pakistani football team, Port United, set up over 50 years ago. And people of that generation, who many of us, including myself and Pervez, we thought we may be the first, you know, superstar footballer breakthrough. and this is why we saw interest that 50 years on, why have we still not got a superstar Pakistani footballer? And I think you're right. It's nothing to do with discrimination. It is to do with ability.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think basically what you're finding now is there is the odd player or two starting to pop up, you know, because I think I don't want to use the term westernised, you know, because I don't think that's the right sort of phraseology. But what I mean is I think people are understanding now the requirements of an academy player, you know, to getting through to the professional environment. So there are boys, you know, there's a young boy at Manchester United, you know, who's been there from being 6-year-old, Zidane Iqbal. He's now sort of pushing into the 23s. There's a player that there's a lot of conversation being spoke about at this moment at Bradford City. You know, there's a lot of the top clubs looking at him.
Sorry, what was the name of this player?
Do you know, off the top of my head, I can't remember what he's called, but he's an under-16 boy. I think it's Salah. He's called, not as in Mo Salah. His first name is Salah, I think. But it's very much a case of that. These players are now starting to acclimatise and accustomise themselves, you know, to the demand of football.
Wonderful. Incidentally, viewers, that's Derek with the great Ronaldo on your screen. Derek, I'm really grateful to you for ringing, particularly as I believe you were at Manchester Airport, or you are at Manchester Airport, waiting for your dear wife to arrive. So thank you very much for taking your time out to call us and for sharing your experience. Pervez, have you got anything to say?
Yeah, Derek, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Thank you very much. Great that.
Pleasure. I wish, like you, that I could find that first diamond of a player, you know, that was representative of the Pakistani, you know, background. It'd be an achievement for everybody, I think.
Thank you so much. We'll all carry on looking.
Yeah. Thanks, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks, Derek. Take care, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Have we got another caller waiting? Next caller, please.
It's Mr. Mohammed Aslam Javed from Nelson in Lancashire.
Brother Aslam Sahab, can I ask you to turn your volume down, please, on your TV?
I will certainly, Saj. How's that? You feeling better now?
That's much better, thank you. Right. Fire away.
Fire away. First of all,
sorry,
I will further.
Sorry, you're still listening to the TV. Could you turn the volume down or off, preferably, please?
Okay, first of all, many thanks for sending me information, and your colleague sitting next to you, Mr. Ali. I just turned it on. Obviously, I've missed some part, but I'm very pleased that.
What's the point you'd like to make, Brother Aslam? Sorry to rush you. We've got 2 minutes left before the Isha Namaz break, so.
Yeah, the topic you choose is very important for the benefit of the younger generation and the parents.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you calling, some always wise words. Okay. Right. So just a minute or so before the Isha Namaz break. Pervez, any comments before we... I mean, actually, what I'd like to ask, and we can develop this further, is if you could go through with us after the break, the scouting process. You know, what does that involve? I mean, you set up an organisation which, well, you can tell us what the organisation does, but we would be interested in what, if there's any people, you know, we want to encourage more people to get into the scouting process, because there's thousands of teams now, isn't there? Asian teams, there's so many leagues, there's so many tournaments, you know, all the time they're having these tournaments, and the Asian teams, some really talented players, but the worry is that they're kind of quite happy in that little world. I mean, which is perfectly fine, they're comfortable, they're with their mates, they enjoy it and so forth, but if they had exposure or the know-how, the knowledge of how to get onto the next step on the ladder, and a lot of these people, we want to perhaps get them involved in the scouting process. So hopefully we can talk more about that after the Isha Namaz prayer break.
خدایا کر کرم ایسا کرم اندر کرم دیکھوں خدایا کر کرم ایسا کرم اندر کرم دیکھوں بلا لے اپنے گھر مجھ کو میں جی بر کر حرم دیکھوں خدایا کر کرم ایسا کرم اندر کرم دیکھوں بلا لے اپنے گھر مجھ کو میں جی بر کر حرم دیکھوں کبھی دیکھوں میں کعبہ تو کبھی چوموں میں اسود کو کبھی چوموں میں اسود کو کبھی دیکھوں میں کعبہ تو کبھی چوموں میں اسود کو میں چوموں اس قدر اسود کہ اپنی چشم نم دیکھوں میں چوموں اس قدر اسود کہ اپنی چشم نم دیکھوں خدایا کر کرم ایسا کرم اندر کرم دیکھوں بلا لے اپنے گھر مجھ کو میں جی بر کر حرم دیکھوں میرے دل کی یہ حسرت ہے میرے دل کی تمنا ہے میرے دل کی یہ حسرت ہے میرے دل کی تمنا ہے میرے دل کی تمنا ہے جو روزے حشر میں دیکھوں تو پس شاہ امم دیکھوں جو روزے حشر میں دیکھوں تو پس شاہ امم دیکھوں خدایا کر کرم ایسا کرم اندر کرم دیکھوں تیرے قرآن کا موضوع تیری توحید ہے یا رب تیرے قرآن کا موضوع تیری توحید ہے یا رب تیری توحید ہے یا رب تیری توحید کا ہر سو میں لہراتا علم دیکھوں تیری توحید کا ہر سو میں لہراتا علم دیکھوں خدایا کر کرم ایسا کرم اندر کرم دیکھوں میں کھولوں رب کا قرآن جب سنوں آقا کا فرما جب میں کھولوں رب کا قرآن جب سنوں آقا کا فرما جب تو آقا کو کمر دیکھوں صحابہ کو نجم دیکھوں تو آقا کو کمر دیکھوں صحابہ کو نجم دیکھوں خدایا کر کرم ایسا کرم اندر کرم دیکھوں بلا لے اپنے گھر مجھ کو میں جی بر کر حرم دیکھوں دل جمشید کی حسرت خدایا پوری کر دے تو دل جمشید کی حسرت خدایا پوری کر دے تو पूरी कर दे तू, रहूं जब तक ज़माने में, रहूं जब तक ज़माने में, तो बस तेरा हरम देखूं, रहूं जब तक ज़माने में, तो बस तेरा हरम देखूं। खुदाया कर करम ऐसा, करम अंदर करम देखूं। बुला ले अपने घर मुझको, मैं जी भर कर गरम देखूं। खुदाया कर करम ऐसा, करम अंदर करम देखूं। खुदाया कर करम ऐसा, करम अंदर करम देखूं। खुदाया कर करम ऐसा, करम अंदर करम देखूं। बुला ले अपने घर मुझको, मैं जी भर कर हरम देखूं। खुदाया कर करम ऐसा, करम अंदर करम देखूं। बुला ले अपने अल्लाह अल्लाहु अकबर, अल्लाह अल्लाह अल्लाह।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back. Straight in, I think we have another live caller. Who's on the line, please? Hello?
Assalamualaikum, I'm still here.
Walaikum salam. Who's calling?
Zaid Dar from Manchester.
Zaid Dar, the famous Dar solicitors from Manchester. Zaid, right. I know you've got plenty to say. Fire away, Zaid.
Brother, I started off at a very young age, 11, 12 years old, when I played football with me and my friend Imran. We joined an elite club. We were going through a park and we saw all these players playing. We didn't realize they were City and United, trialists, good players, but we seemed to be a bit better than them, and we were offered to join them. So that's where our journey started. We started playing with these elite players. I saw racism at that time. It was very difficult. And the first match I played, one of the players on my team said, "Paki, pass the ball." So I found that very, very, very strange. What's this? He's on my team and he's calling me that name. So unfortunately, my ability for 10 years, when I had the ability to, I think, perhaps make it as a professional, it was an era when no Pakistani had ever played football. It was very difficult. There was a lot of racism. In those days, there's almost nil chance of Pakistani ever getting a chance. Although I tried. I had trials at clubs. When I went to the university, by this time I was probably the best player at the university, no matter what it is.
Zaid, just to interrupt, I'm really sorry, but could I ask you just to take your words back? The language that you use, unfortunately, is not allowed anymore. So if you could kindly just apologize for...
I apologize for that. I don't mean...
Yes,
racism.
I understand. I understand the emotion, but unfortunately, in these times, we're not allowed to use such...
I agree. What I mean, it was very difficult in those days, you can imagine.
Yeah.
And but nowadays, I would say there's a lot more opportunities. We've got people like Pervez in the business. After I didn't make it as a footballer, I shifted my, I came back to studies, became a solicitor, and about 3 years ago, Pervez, I became a football agent.
Oh, great. Right, tell us more about that. What does that entail? And have you discovered any big fish?
Yes, it's really interesting. I still work with the community in local Manchester, and there were 3-4 good West Indian players who were coming through, and I had connections in that community, and it was quite a simple process. You register with the FA, pay a fee, and then you hope that you can get players towards you, and your job is to open doors for them at the club. Because I'm a solicitor, it was a little bit easier for me to do a bit of talking on their behalf and negotiate on their behalf and open the doors for them. and I managed to act for 3 players. Obviously I won't mention their names, but quite good experience, and I got good deals for them and negotiated good deals for them. But I then stopped because it's just too much. You have to be either totally involved. Yeah. You can't have a part-time job. You can't be a solicitor, and you have to be totally committed. Is that right, Pervez? You have to be totally committed.
I agree with you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's a shame, really. Now, I've got a son. I mean, he had trials with Manchester City and Man United. He was unbelievable. At the age of 15, he was the leading goal scorer for the league. And City and United were interested. And you're right, Pervez. It's so hard now. There's so many good players. And at the 2-day trial that Man United had, where they called all the best players around, he didn't make it. He got through the first day. The second day, he didn't make it. His head went down. He lost interest. And probably like your son, he wasn't interested. And if that was me, I would have looked for Bradford. I would have looked for Blackpool. I would have gone to Crewe. I would have gone anywhere. Yeah. In my time, I didn't make it in England, so I went to Norway. I had my manager, when I was younger, got a job in Norway. I left my studies and I went to Norway. I thought, let me make it over there and I can come back to England and maybe I'll play for Manchester United. Honestly, this is how I left my studies. But unfortunately, I couldn't get a work permit to stay in Norway. I ended back in England. I was going to get a trial with Man City, and then I got an injury. That injury took me back to my studies, and here we are. That's my journey.
And I believe you still play, Zayed.
Well,
I ask you to reveal how old you are, but...
at the age of 60, my son...
60, mashallah, yeah.
My 2 sons, Salman and Hamza, are shocked. I still play with them, not as a defender, not as a goalie, as a striker.
Good lad.
Amazing. Well done, Zayed. We're very proud of you. Apart from the little mishap at the beginning, thank you so much for your contribution. Continue your work, your good work. Keep up your enthusiasm. You are a role model to so many people. And of course, tell us, was it Young Muslims, your club, wasn't it?
Young Muslims.
Is that still going? Is it still around?
No, now it's very old Muslims.
Right, okay, brilliant. Okay, Zayed, thank you so much for your contribution, really appreciate it. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Okay, so Pervez, back to you. Take us to your role as a scout. What's a typical day or a week? What's the scouting process? What does it involve?
Yeah, so, well, my job at United when I was there, it was part-time, but very much full-time. So before you went to a game, you'd have your fixtures for the week, what games you would attend. You'd have your targets, the players that you go and watch. So every game you went, there was a player you could...
So it's the club that tells you to go, right, okay. So it's not you sort of roaming around.
Once upon a time that did happen, but later on it got to a game where, you know, because you got too busy, you're watching under 21s, you could be watching under 16s, Saturday, Sundays. Yeah. Remember, football now is played every day of the week. Yeah. Morning, afternoon, any time. So it was any time you had, although you were part-time, to go and watch a game. But it was all about preparation. Wherever you went, you did your research, got to the game, got your team sheet, you know, got ready for your report. And obviously, every football club has a report to do on a player, and United we're no different. You know, we looked at everything from the game plan, from the physicality. You know, we have a little checklist that we all do. That's why when I actually went out and developed my skills, I set up the Professional Football Scouts Association.
We'll talk more about that in a minute. We have another couple of calls. Who's on the line, please? Hello? Next caller, who's there, please?
Hello, sir. This is Jav here from Nelson.
Oh, Jav. How are you?
How you doing? Alhamdulillah.
Another person who could have been the Ronaldo. Jav, thanks very much for ringing. I know you've had a very busy evening. I think you've just finished teaching. So tell us of your experience or any points you wish to make.
Well, obviously, I'm 50 now, so we started playing football thanks to yourself. I mean, you're the one who's got us playing football. We were playing football on the streets. And you recognise you phoned Part United Juniors, made me captain. Alhamdulillah, we started playing and I started doing quite well. The question you put down is the Pakistani Ronaldo. I think there's many elements to that. You know as well as I do, it's very, very tough to get into the professional league. Very, very tough.
Yeah.
Many players have tried, including yourself, myself, and there's quite a few more. I think in our time, in the 80s, there was a lot of racism.
Yeah.
And that was one big factor for me. I had trials for Lancashire schoolboys. I played for Burnley, Preston. I played for all sorts of clubs, trials everywhere, but we just could not quite crack it. You know, I'll give you an example.
Sorry, I know we are aware of, in those days there was. Do you believe still there is racism? There is obviously in the wider society, but in terms of football, you know, do you not think if you really had the ability, no matter what religion you were, what background you were, the clubs would be, you know, wanting you? You know, I know we can't keep going back, and we've reflected on that. Times were really bad, and you know there were horrendous scenarios that we can reflect on. But let's look at the current situation. What do you feel the situation is now?
Well, at this moment, there has been quite a few players who've had sort of a breakthrough, but not what we wanted. I still believe there is racism, but it's very well disguised.
Okay.
Yeah. Ability-wise, I feel that we have to be at least 2 or 3 times as better than the next person.
But what makes you think that, Jav? I mean, you look at Mo Salah, there's so many Muslim, North African players, there's all kinds of nationalities. You know, when you talk about racism, you've got Son, Tottenham Hotspur, you've got virtually every nationality in the world playing in the Premier League.
We can dwell into this in quite deep, actually. Okay. I mean, me personally, I feel that when our elders came over,
yes,
we were frowned upon, which is the harsh reality. And I think a lot of people will find it difficult now if the people they look down upon, they'll just start idolizing them on the stands. That is for me, that is a really, really big point.
So really, your point is, racism is towards the Pakistani community, which is really what the program is about, is trying to find that Pakistani Ronaldo. And the question is, why is it we, as a Pakistani community, have struggled? And so you may well have a point there.
It's definitely something that I think the people know, but they just, I mean, the scouts, the gentleman next to you, obviously don't know him, but obviously. It's in a situation. The scouts, the managers, everyone, they will find an excuse for you, whether you're good enough or not. If you are good enough, they'll still say, "Well, not quite." You know, obviously it's their personal opinions when you play for the club. I mean, when I was playing, I went for Lancashire trials. I just want to tell you a quick story. I played. We had a trial match, and I was playing with Dougie Gonal. He was the England international forward at that time for under 15s, under 16s. And the top 16 or 64 players were chosen. Lo and behold, I was the only Pakistani there in 1987 at Blackburn. It was trials in Blackburn somewhere. Guess what number I came?
Go on.
Number 17.
17.
The captain of the England schoolboys and Matt Jackson, who later on played for Everton and Wigan, they were there. They come on, they hugged me and they said, we can't believe you're not on the list.
Jav, I'm really sorry. I can't believe we've only got a couple of minutes left. So please, we'll talk again, no doubt. But thank you very much for your contribution. Very quickly, Pervez, some kind of concluding. We've really not been able to get down to that, but you made some fantastic points. We're just summing up very quickly.
Well, I understand what your job come through, but I think now we're in an era where the clubs, the academies, they're all well equipped now. They know. You know what to look out for. They know about the religion. They know what to look for. Now, I don't think we can use that prejudice and racism in the game. We've just got to get on with it. And I've seen it at United. I go around to other clubs, and there's plenty of young players roaming around the club, all different backgrounds, and they're getting on. And I do think the clubs are trying to unearth an Asian player. Yeah, they are trying.
In fact, the PFA have appointed a guy called Riz Rahman, you might know. his title is the Players Executive, Inclusive Executive.
Yeah, he's a mentor.
And he's introduced a peer mentoring program.
Yeah.
But as we finish off, I'd like to very quickly, to our young aspiring footballers who might be watching, there's no secret formula. It's about hard work, and then even harder work, and then when you've done that, even greater harder work. Absolutely. And if you need any inspiration, listen to what Emily Raducanu, who's just won the USA Open, has said about the secret of her success. She said, hard to please parents. So when your parents are trying to encourage you, motivate you and so forth, listen to them, respect them, and continue that hard work. And with their blessings, inshallah, and with the blessings of the Almighty, I'm sure we are just turning the corner, and we will, in not too distant a future, find our next Ronaldo. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all the people who've rung in, and a special thank you to Pervez for giving us an insight to his background and career. Thank you very much, and good night. Assalamu alaikum.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله